This is 37 Families, Season 3, Chapter 6. In this episode, we will be talking about lateral alters, integrating our discussion in Season 3, Chapter 2 with the 37 families. To start off, as explained in Season 3, Chapter 2, the telescopic effect manifests as the overlap of the field of the objects of consciousness with social-emotional importance amongst lateral alters. This field of objects of social-emotional relevance determines a person's ability to project intention in the system as a whole. We know that lateral alters have common fields of objects of social-emotional relevance pertaining to distinct spatial objects. We also know that these fields determine a person's ability to project intention and thereby cause collisions amongst social actors. From this we can see that, not only is the field of distinct lateral alters stacked, so too is their projected intentionality. In effect, lateral alters, cousins, amplify the projection of intention within the system as a whole. In other words, the stacking of the fields of the objects of consciousness of social-emotional relevance in distinct territorial fiefdoms aggregates the projection of intention amongst lineal family lines. This makes sense, since the premise of this podcast is that 37 families control the conjoined consensuality. If these families possessed extensive lineal lines, as well as aggregating or coupling of their projected intention through stacking of the fields pertaining to distinct intellectual fiefdoms, it would make sense that the impact of collisions generated by consequence of this projected intention would be amplified. It also tells us something about why the system is dominated by a single scientific paradigm. Since the integration of these paradigms into a single systemization would be the product of the stacking of individual fields of objects of consciousness of social-emotional relevance. It also explains the occurrence of appropriation of new ideas and concepts. Since lateral alters may have stacked fields of objects of social-emotional relevance, if they have distinct spatial objects, but if they have similar objects of consciousness, then the linking of fields might reflect a similar anchoring to spatial objects of significance. As discussed in Season 1, Chapter 4, the 37 families use archetypal assignments to particular offspring during early development to promote the standardization of rationalization of particular impulses for recognition by the system as a whole. It is this standardization of archetypal assignments in early development which promotes the formation of this stacking of fields of objects of social-emotional relevance amongst lateral alters, lineal lines. In other words, it is the standardization of archetypes, which promotes assumption of particular fields of objects of social-emotional relevance to linearly related individuals. That's the end of the podcast for today.